It's an old problem in capitalist economies. It's called automation. And we're having a big automation really on the verge of sweeping across the American economy. This has to do with what is called self-driving cars and or self-driving trucks. It is now quite clear from experiments done already here in the United States and in Europe that self-driving cars and trucks are coming, and they're coming pretty soon. And there have been acts already in various states and so on that it's going to happen. Here's what this means and what the focus of my story is. In the United States, the following people will be affected by the conversion or the transition from cars and trucks that need a driver to cars and trucks that don't need a driver. In the United States, there are 3.5 million truck drivers. We have 600,000 Uber drivers and 180,000 taxi drivers on top of that. Well, you put it all together, and we have somewhere between 4 and 5 million of our fellow workers who are on the verge of losing their jobs. It means that things we need, freight moved from one place to another, people moved from one place to another, we're not going to get that work done without the labor of a driver. That's an enormous labor-saving technical change. And whenever that happens, capitalism has a choice to make. Number one, and this is what capitalists like, they fire these workers. They tell the truck driver, you're fired. The taxi driver, you're fired. And the Uber driver, you're fired. We don't need you anymore. And the companies like that because they get the work done, the freight is moved, the people are moved, but they don't have to pay a wage. So they charge pretty much what they did before, maybe a little less, and they keep as profits what they used to pay out as wages. That's the way they want to go, because that's how they use technology for the profit that they're in business to maximize. But there is, of course, an alternative. We will reduce the work week in the United States from 40 hours to, say, 35 for everybody. And that will mean all kinds of jobs have to be created, so employers replace the work that used to be done in those last 5 hours by the worker who was traditionally there, but because that worker now gets a 35-hour week, that extra 5 hours per worker has to be done by somebody else. And guess who that'll be? It'll be the laid-off truck driver, the laid-off Uber worker, the laid-off taxi worker. And in that way, everybody enjoys less work than they had to do before, which is a wonderful thing for everybody. The price of everything stays the same. The profits, therefore, will stay the same because the wages paid to everybody will stay the same. In other words, when technology happens, one way to install it helps profits and hurts the laid-off worker. The second one doesn't boost the profits and uses the technology instead to reduce the amount of labor. Here's the irony, folks. Technology has always been justified on the grounds that it makes life easier. But it's capitalism that prevents that from happening by taking the earlier route, using technology for profits and not to save labor for working people. A different system would handle technology in a different way.